Rick Peterson is well-traveled and well-schooled. He likes to discuss ideas, current events, and issues of the day with friends over a glass of fine wine. That and other things prompted him to informally launch the Burgundy Luncheon Club in Vancouver. It's a salon discussion group with some smarty pants members. It is my pleasure to welcome Rick Peterson to Studio 4 to tell us more. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Fanny. Nice to be here.
I doubt you have to have a high IQ to belong to the Burgundy Luncheon Club, but you have to like to talk about ideas and current affairs.
Well, you like to have to listen to ideas and listen to people and then put your ideas forward. But the whole idea, Fanny, is basically we want to be able to have a forum where people can talk about things in an intelligent way, exchange ideas, listen to people, and have a glass or two of wine while we do it.
Of course. It makes us a little smarter. Or perhaps
at the end of this session, it does, yes.
One glass of Burgundy, yes. So, how did it all begin?
You know, you know, a number of us who are friends of mine and colleagues of mine have been involved in political activity in different ways. And I think over time, I think we've all developed a sense of what you can do on the political world, but what you can also do outside of the political sphere. And reading the New York Times one Sunday morning in bed, I was reading about the blossoming salon discussion scene in New York, and the whole idea being basically people inviting friends over back to, as they did in France in the 18th, 19th century, to talk about stuff. I thought, what a great idea. Yeah,
Gertrude Stein isn't around, but hey.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, in this world of high-tech, tweets, high-tech, high-touch world we're in, really, people are tweeting and Facebooking and all of that, and we say we're shortening words. You know, it's an oxitch instead of an awkward situation, all of that.
Yeah.
You don't discuss.
And I think there's a thirst, I think, Fanny, I think you've hit it right on the nose, because there is a lot of information out there, but it's an inch deep and a mile wide. And I think that there is a genuine desire and a thirst, not even in the wine sense, but there's a thirst for discussion of serious things, serious ideas in a forum that's non-political, that's non-partisan.
Exactly, but including the political people in it, to get them at a relaxed level to say, what are your ideas?
Bingo.
Whether you're discussing HST or fishing on the Fraser River. What are your ideas?
And I think the forum that we have is basically, it's informal, but it's respectful. We run a pretty tight ship in terms of time that people have to speak. And it's highly popular. It's, we didn't expect it was going to be as good as it was.
So, first meeting? First email?
Sent an email out. I thought I'd have 8 or 10 people. An hour and a half later, my inbox was full of like 50, and it was just among a group of friends. And we had Dr. Mark Mullins, a good friend of mine, talk about the financial markets. This was at the bottom of the financial sector in April of '09. Alex Sakumas came in and talked about, we were in the middle of all the gangland shootings and stuff. And Bruce Young, a good friend who's a federal liberal, came in to talk about this guy, Michael Ignatieff, who was going to be coming on board, right?
Coming on board, and who is he, and what nerve didn't he hit?
Exactly. Bruce told us how he was about to steamroll the federal conservatives, so that was an interesting chat back in '09.
I'm sure. And was that subprime? Is that when we melted down in the United States? No.
No, it was. It was at a time when nobody was opening their investment statements because it was just so ugly. And Mark Mullins, a good friend of mine, who's an investment advisor as well as I am, said, you know, this might be a pretty good time to get into the markets. And in retrospect, it's great, but at the time we thought Mark was a little bit too much into the Burgundy at the time.
Okay,
but it wasn't.
But at the Burgundy Luncheon Club, I'm assuming you discuss greed. And what motivates a Bernie Madoff and the family and the wife and that. Also, how the United States got in the mess and what was going on in the banking system and how Canada is different. You tell me, you were there.
Well, I don't know. I think the key there is basically, Fanny, everything is on the table. We talk sex, politics, greed, religion, everything you want that's part of, as André Malraux said, la condition humaine, right? And so we don't just touch on political. In fact, what I try to do, we have 3 topics every week. And I try to have maybe 1 political or 2 at the most, but we always try to throw in one that's a little bit softer. And
so some art, some culture.
Absolutely. We had
religion and politics, really?
Absolutely.
Didn't your mother tell you we will not discuss religion or politics at the dinner table?
That's why we're doing it there.
Okay, because it's safer.
It's safer.
Does it get very heated at times?
Yeah, it does.
So do you debate and...
No, the format's pretty...
or it's very formal?
It's a dictatorship, Annie. I run the place with an iron hand, Fanny, rather, and there's a 10-minute discussion at the opening. The guest speaker gets 10 minutes to talk about his or her topic. And then we open it up for a 20-minute moderated question and answer, and that's where it gets really interesting.
I'm sure.
Everything's off the record. There's no big speeches. If you're asking a question that's too long, we'll just cut you off. And the responses are usually as succinct, and as a result, there's a flow that is very difficult to duplicate anywhere else, and that's the magic of the Burgundy Luncheon Club.
And if somebody's expounding,
it's over. Just cut them off.
It's over. But the pool of ideas alone would be great.
It is, and it's a real, you know, as you know, Fanny, in this show, getting interesting people is an intriguing exercise, but quite often what will happen, the ideas will come from the guests themselves or members who are coming in, and there's no shortage of ideas. It's always a bit of a delicate balance trying to get 3 people in at a certain day at the end of the month, but we've done it. This is our 3rd year in a row, and it worked out well.
Well, I was at the Sarah Palin Bon Mott's dinner. I don't know if you were there.
Leah Costello is a friend of mine. Leah comes to these quite often as well. Yeah.
And that was an interesting evening. Whether you like Sarah Palin or not, didn't matter. To watch her work and to watch Todd, the husband, work. And it was just, you know, going rogue. It was just an interesting evening.
It was good, and I think the element that I like about what we're doing at the Burgundy Luncheon Club is, you know, Sarah Palin probably wouldn't come and speak with us, but the most intriguing guests that we've had are kind of everyday people. People who are perhaps in the public eye a little bit, but not at the extent of a Sarah Palin or Michael Ignatieff or a Stephen Harper.
Like a city councillor, like a
well, not even that.
Curator,
one of the ones that really stands out is Brad Cran. Did you know about
poet.
our poet? Have you had him on here?
I think a few. I've done so many interviews in my life.
Yeah.
Whether he's been in Studio 4, I've certainly talked to him before, but where, I'm not sure. But he wrote a poem in here in the Burgundy Luncheon Club.
Brad Cran, well, I invited him because I'd heard that we had a poet laureate, and I thought, you know, what the hell are we doing with a poet laureate in Vancouver? So I expected this kind of a hippie-ish looking guy to come in, and here was a guy dressed like an accountant, thin black tie, glasses, brush cut haircut, and he is an accountant.
See?
And he's
a poet.
And he's a poet, and he sat down in front of 45 business people and read poetry to us, and you could have heard a needle drop in the room.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And I think that's the magic of what we're doing.
Well, you know, some of the smartest executives I know at high levels don't just read business books. They read philosophy, they read War and Peace, they're well read at all different levels, not just, you know, how to swim with the sharks.
You know what, with all respect to the politicians who we have come in, they are interesting, but the journalists do a great job for us, having been in the journalism trade myself. But Douglas Todd came in and talked about Buddhism, right? Daphne Bram from Vancouver Sun came in and talked about the polygamy and all the Mormon things. And quite often what I love about having journalists in is they know what's going on. They have the perspective to kind of put it into place.
Right.
And they can call the shots. There's no partisanship there.
Well researched. Fishtails on the Fraser?
Ned
really?
Pottinger. Ned Pottinger came in. Ned, head of the Pacific Salmon Foundation, came in and told us about why there was the Cone Commission, what's at stake, what was the real reason behind it, and it was fascinating.
So HST's obviously been on the list or not?
It's been beaten to death.
Okay,
you know,
so
it's been
done.
beaten to death.
So
done.
you say, okay, but you know, Premier Campbell, former Premier Campbell, is a voracious reader, which we all know. So once he goes to London as the High Commish, maybe you can have him back.
We'll ask him.
You'll ask him, why not? Rick Peterson, our guest, Lessons from the Burgundy Luncheon Club, his book, How to Drink Wine, Meet Interesting People, and Change Your World. And they don't just talk, they walk the talk. We'll tell you how.